Thanks, man. Hey, everyone.
Hi.
Thanks for coming. It's great to see everyone. It was an eventful show, and it's great to see you all again. Can I start taking questions? Hey, who's...
Corey Lee from the Wrestling Observer. How's it going, Tony?
Great to see you.
Good to see you, man. A couple questions. Has there been a date announced for the Revolution pay-per-view as of right now and where it's going to be?
Actually, Raph just walked me in. I think we're sharing more information about it. I think a lot of people may have guessed. There were some leaks, but as to that point, but at least before I leave tonight, I'll try to answer your question. Raph, I got asked about Revolution. We were There's a lot of people are pushing and asking about it. I feel like now could be a good time, but I don't know. I mean, we're waiting a little bit to announce Revolution, I think, and where that is, as I understand it.
Yeah, we have a venue booked. It's going to be in the Bay Area, Chase Center. It'll be on March 5th, Sunday, March 5th. Tickets go on sale December 9th. So we'll have a three-show set in the Bay Area, 2 shows at the Cow Palace on Wednesday, March 1st. Dynamite March 3rd, Friday with Rampage. Then we'll move a couple miles up the road.
Yeah, I think it's good timing to come in and hit that point. And now that we're following up after Full Gear, but I think we've also got Dynamite and Rampage. We're trying to promote, let off with announcements about those being out on the West Coast, and then. This is going to be great. I think Chase Center is a great venue for us, and should be a really, really great Revolution. It's the first time out there. I think a couple places had already reported it a while ago that it was, but it's nice to confirm it officially. Well, it's an interesting question. I think that right now we've had a great year for pay-per-view buys, and after Full Gear, I think it's very safe to say and official that this will be the most pay-per-view buys we've ever had in a year. Now that's aided by the fact we added an event this year and with Forbidden Door in partnership with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and that's been a really successful debut. But so far, we've had a really strong year on pay-per-view, and I think by continuing to deliver great events, we've got a great tradition of people supporting really Revolution, Double or Nothing. Now Forbidden Door is 1-for-1, All Out, and Full Gear. So it's having that year-over-year success we've had allows us to feel pretty good about the model we have going right now. But it's certainly always something that we're looking at for the future. Is what is the future of delivering events? But certainly right now it's been really successful for us. Thanks.
Hi Tony, Rick Holmes, News 12. We spoke
earlier
this week, right? We're talking a little bit about bringing up this Northeast tour coming to a close here at Prudential Center tonight. This building wasn't here 15 years ago. It has started to accumulate quite an AEW history here. The original Blood and Guts was going to be here before the pandemic. We get a world title change here tonight. When you think about Newark, New Jersey, you really don't think about a pro wrestling city. A lot of that was because we did not have a world-class building, which I think we do now. What are your thoughts as AEW makes its mark, and why do you keep coming back to Prudential Center? I know we've got the Arthur Ashe shows, but Prudential Center for the indoor arena seems to be the one of choice. So talk to us a little bit about that and the history that's formed here.
Well, we've got a great fan base here around Newark, New Jersey, and this building in particular has been home to some great matches in AEW, title changes. Many of the titles have changed hands in the AEW either tonight or, like Jungle Boy was saying, they won the World Tag Team Championship here too, and we had the first Dynamite in the history of TBS here in the Prudential Center. So certainly a lot of big moments in AEW history have happened right here at Prudential Center, and like you said, I think it is a world-class venue. So by having something like that here, it's the perfect combination. You've got a really great fan base, a really great venue, and it has come together where we've been able to really have great success with AEW promoting events here at the Prudential Center. So I think I'd like to continue coming here for sure. Thanks for asking. I really enjoyed the other interview we did, by the way. Thank you.
Hi, Tony.
Hey,
Josh.
Hey, Josh.
I want to ask about two talents we haven't seen in a while. Andrade and Miro. A lot of people online ask about Miro. Can you give us a status on both guys if we're going to see them in AEW?
Well, I think when we launched AEW, one thing I said is I would, build a big roster, and we kind of would have it be where I wasn't really committing to everybody necessarily working every single week, or even possibly working people in and out of the cards, and I think that's still something I'm committed to. So there's people who aren't on every event, but I still would like to get involved, and you've seen people take some sabbaticals, absences, breaks from AEW for various reasons, come back and get very involved, and I think that's still, for both those guys, potentially something that you could see for differing reasons. I think they're different. They're both apples and oranges in some ways, but I also think both of them are great, and I would like to get both of them involved in the future. Thanks for asking.
Before we begin from Wrestling Observer, is there any updates on Adam Cole and Hangman Page at this time that you can discuss from?
Well, I've been in contact with both of them. They're both doing very well. I think, again, they're different situations, but for both of them, I think I'm optimistic we'd get both of them back, but I can't say when either of them would be exactly. But I do think they will both be very well received, and there's a lot of fans looking forward to both of the Adams returning. I think Hangman Page and Adam Cole both would have a big reception upon their return, and the most important thing is they're both doing really well. Thanks, man.
Brandon Thurston, Wrestling Obs, yeah. I wonder if you could tell us what your perspective is of just the broader live sports rights market in the future. Maybe there's a recession on the horizon. There's some anxiety about whether the cable industry will stay strong. WBD, your partner, is talking about cost cutting. So I imagine that you have a pretty positive outlook on it. It's so important to AEW's future financially. So just wondering what your thoughts are on the live sports.
Well, I've always been able to take a long view on AEW content. We have a lot of resources as a family, and it's a family business. So AEW was able to launch with a good upfront investment and then build big revenue very quickly. And now we have really strong revenue streams that have allowed us to probably, like I said, take the long view of how things play out in 2023, 2024. And I feel like the most important thing for AEW is that we have a really strong media partner with Warner Brothers Discovery, and that partnership has only gotten stronger as the merger happened. And Warner Brothers Discovery has given us more responsibility, more opportunities, additional content, and I think it's going to be good. I mean, not only have we probably got more opportunities to get more content in the WBD pipeline, but also we've had more opportunities to have interconnectivity and integrations with their shows and things that are important to them. So I think we've become an important player, and like you alluded to, it's been a challenging time for some media properties, but I think for AEW, by having strong year-over-year ratings where we are up year-over-year, and for the entire year, and it's also been a positive quarter for Q4. The pay-per-view buys have been really strong. So I think for AEW, while it is probably for some companies that haven't had the kind of success that AEW has enjoyed in 2022, I can see why it would be a concerning market. For us, I'm actually really optimistic about it. But that is a good question.
Hey, Tony. Tonight we had Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks making their on-screen return. When it comes to their behind-the-scenes roles, have they come and assumed all past responsibilities as EVPs, and what has that return been like?
Yeah, it's been, they have come back and, been involved in the shows and things they would do in the production of the show, and also Kenny in the production of the video game, which we saw AEW Fight Forever trailers this weekend, and I think there's a lot of interest in that, and should be a great game, and I think there's a lot of interest building in it for good reason. It looks great, and for a company as young as AEW to have a game and be releasing it this young in our stage as a company, it's pretty exciting, and we've hit a bunch of milestones like that, and it's great to have them back and be a part of the show on screen and off screen.
Hey, Tony, this is Danny with Steel.com.
Dave.
As someone who's been trying to put together more of a wrestling media-friendly wrestling company, what has the process been like for the thought process on your end, trying to balance that with stuff like whether it's giving the wrestlers a little bit more privacy on injuries or stuff like the investigation? How has it been on your end trying to strike the right balance?
It's tricky, man. It's a subjective thing. It's a good question because I think the fans want that transparency, and to some extent, I do think we offer a lot of transparency into what AEW does. So then, for various reasons, whether it's the quality of the show, legal reasons, or anything in between, which I know those are completely different ends of the spectrum, but like I said, anything in between, it's a subjective call, it's a gut thing, and I try to, give people good insight. I think the most important transparency is false advertising, and there is a lot of that in wrestling, and I really try to avoid it in AEW. Like, I don't really try to promote matches, or try and build up a big match if it's not going to happen, or if somebody's just going to run in and stop it from happening. And once in a blue moon, I think that's okay, but as long as you don't build a reputation for bait and switch. But we really almost never do it, and just as a rule of thumb, I kind of am almost phobic about that kind of stuff. But there's all different kinds of transparency, but there's a variety of reasons why you do and don't say the things you do and don't say about what happens on and off screen. But it's a fair enough question. Thanks, Dave.
Hi, Tony. Pat Laprade from TV Sports in Montreal. Montreal has been doing very well in terms of ticket sales with your competitor. You now have French TV in Montreal. So is Montreal now a market that is near the top of your list for 2023 as far as Canadian markets go?
Montreal would be a great place to run AEW. It's definitely in consideration. I think Canada has got a great history of wrestling events. Montreal is a city with a great history of wrestling events, in particular a lot of big gates in Montreal in the history of pro wrestling. And I think for AEW, like you said, we have the French commentary, we have great Canadian stars. I think now that we've been to Toronto and had a great experience and kind of gotten used to some of the things that it takes to run an international event from a logistics standpoint, moving the crew back and forth, I think it's definitely something that we would be interested in.
Thank you.
What's up?
Hey Josh.
What up? What's up with Ring of Honor? That's it.
Okay, great. Well, so December 10th, final battle. It's very interesting. So now we have a big match coming up. I think you guys, if following the pay-per-view, some of you, I guess you're all here. So if you didn't see the backstage, I think you all saw it'll be Jericho versus Tomohiro Ishii. Jericho's had a great reign of defending against a bunch of people who've held titles in Ring of Honor, a lot of great wrestlers, and I thought he continued that tonight, defended against a couple of great former Ring of Honor champions in a great four-way match, and now he's defending against a former Ring of Honor World Television Champion, Tomohiro Ishii, at the Wintrust Arena this Wednesday night at Dynamite in Chicago, and the winner of that match will be in a really strong position going into Final Battle. I'm really excited about the Final Battle show. It's a special start time, so it's getting a chance to try something out. It's an experiment. Doing the show December 10th, 3 p.m. Start time. Is it 3 p.m. local? Is 4 p.m. Eastern?
It's 4 p.m. Eastern.
4 p.m. Eastern. We're in Dallas. That's right. 3 p.m. So yeah, that's we're in Eastern time now. So it'll be 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. local start time for anybody who's going to be at the show in Dallas. And the 0 hour will start at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. It'll be a little bit different, and there's good reasons, I think, to try it out, and it's a great opportunity, and I think it'll be a great event, and we'll see who wins this big match, Jericho versus Ishii on Dynamite. I think it's a big match, and Ishii had a title shot coming to him. He won that eliminator to get a shot and wasn't able to compete at Forbidden Door. So I thought it was very fitting. He comes in, and as a former Ring of Honor World TV Champion, he's a perfect candidate take advantage of these opportunities to come in and challenge in what is the Ring of Jericho. And so that's pretty exciting, and we'll see what happens there going into Final Battle. So far, since I took over Ring of Honor, we've had 2 pay-per-view shows that have done really well, and they've been really good revenue. On a per-event basis, this is shaping up to be the best year in Ring of Honor's 20-year history for live events and pay-per-view, so that's fun. And right now, I believe with Final Battle, we can follow up on what we did with Death Before Dishonor and Supercard of Honor, and have another really good buy rate and sell a lot of tickets outside of AEW without cannibalizing AEW, because I think while we have had some of the matches on AEW, I think it's, when you see matches like the one we had tonight with Chris Jericho, there were 10 matches on the pay-per-view. Only one of them was for a Ring of Honor Championship, and I thought it was one of the great matches on the show. And the video package highlighted why the lineage matters, and a lot of great champions were involved in the match. Jerry Lynn, one of the people backstage, a coach, a former Ring of Honor champion, and then the participants in the match, and a lot of other great names. And I would love to get a Ring of Honor TV show, a weekly show, and I'm still optimistic about doing that. But right now we had to focus on Full Gear, our AEW shows, and now with AEW going into some really big events, heading into Chicago, Indianapolis, and then heading to Texas. I thought it was very fitting. While a lot of the people that might potentially be involved could be in Texas, we'll have a Final Battle, and it's going to be a great show. Thanks.
Hi, Tony, Denise. So my question for you is, have you had any conversations with New Japan Pro Wrestling about AEW talent appearing at Wrestle Kingdom? And also, did you have that in mind while you were booking the Best of 7 series?
Well, I have had conversations with them about it. I've been mindful of it when I've been doing all the dates and looking at everything around the Seattle show, because as you probably know, we have a AEW Dynamite event in Seattle on the night of the Tokyo Dome, January 4th, and then we're in Portland on the 6th, which is pretty close to the New Japan show on the 5th. So I do think that week would be a bit of a challenge, so I have had good talks with them about it. As you saw, Rocky was actually here. So, I've had good conversations with them about that, and I'm optimistic we'll be able to participate in some capacity on Wrestle Kingdom, but I do think a lot of the top AEW stars are going to have to stay here. It's important we keep all the big stars we can for AEW in Seattle.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Tony, Nick Hausman with Wrestling Nick.
Hi, Nick.
Hi. I want to kind of piggyback off the Ring of Honor question a little bit. On the road to Full Gear and the build to the ROH title match, there was, of course, the booking of Colt Cabana that got a lot of attention. I was wondering if you could address how you came to the decision to put Colt in that spot, and also if you could kind of clarify maybe once and for all, did CM Punk ever ask to have Colt Cabana move to Ring of Honor or not share the locker room with him?
No, he never asked for that. The first time it came up, I think you asked me that on a Scrum call, and I wasn't looking at you face to face, and I really was trying to, it was before Death Before Dishonor, I think. He never asked me that, and I could have probably addressed it then, and I just didn't comment on it because I wanted to keep talking about the wrestling that was on the show, because Colt Cabana was wrestling on the show.
Right.
And so, and this, you weren't asking me specifically about the show, so I didn't answer that there, but no. And then, as far as the match with Chris in Baltimore, I thought it made a lot of sense because we had the Ring of Honor Championship Series, and we had talked about Chris Jericho's wrestling so many of the great names in Ring of Honor. And so, when you talk about like great people who've held championships in Ring of Honor, we brought in Bandito, Dalton Castle, a lot of great people. Tomohiro Ishii is a great former Ring of Honor World TV champion who I think is a match, like I was saying, I'm really excited for with Jericho. I think that could be a match, a Tokyo Dome caliber match. And when we've been booking the shows, I've been using Colt Cabana both as a coach and a wrestler in Ring of Honor. So I looked at the Ring of Honor roster, and Colt Cabana is a very logical challenger because not only has he held the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship, but he's also somebody who's been wrestling in kind of the new Ring of Honor. The 2022 Ring of Honor is undefeated. and has won both of his matches. So I thought he'd be a very logical challenger for Chris, and it's also a good match.
Do you understand how people drew that conclusion, though, that there was him coming back was somehow aligned?
Yes, but he was wrestling in Ring of Honor, and then he wrestled for the Ring of Honor Championship. So if you look at the booking of it, it's like he's 2-0 in Ring of Honor, and he's wrestling Chris Jericho, who is the Ring of Honor champion. And like when Colt Cabana has won at both Supercard of Honor and Death Before Dishonor, and that's what I've been using him in, is Ring of Honor, then he's a former Ring of Honor champion. He's a really logical person to challenge Chris. Plus, he's a very compelling babyface and somebody the crowd gets behind. He's a really good wrestler. And so I thought it'd be a really good match, and I think it was a really good match.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi Tony, Liam Crowley, comicbooks.com. I want to talk again about the Elite's return. They come out to Wayward Son. Talk to me about the clearance process of getting that song cleared. Is it going to just be a one-off? And we also saw reports that they might have tried to trademark the name Wayward Sons. Was there ever any discussion about rebranding the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, as maybe something else?
No, we'd never talk about changing the name. That like it wasn't like going to be a rebrand or anything. It wasn't going to be like a Generation Me situation or anything. I was a big fan of the Young Bucks, and when they were Generation Me, I was thinking like, okay, I really like the Young Bucks and Nigel McGuinness, and when they were like Generation Me and Desmond Wolfe, I was scratching my head. That's why like so many of the people I think it's good when people come into AEW and keep their names for the most part. With the Wayward Son trademark, no, I don't know about the trademark, but I do think the song was a great idea. They asked me about licensing it, and you know, it's similar to trades in sports where it takes two willing parties, and sometimes you're like very happy to get a deal done. You're like, wow, that was really very pleasant, and like it was a good deal and a good trade for both teams, and you feel like good about the trade. Other times they're very like brutal and painful, and at the end of it you feel like you got dragged, and this was not one of those. They were very nice. So the really Kansas and all the people we worked with were very nice about licensing it, and the Elite asked me about the use of it, and I thought it was a great idea, and I was really excited about the idea of the series. I'm really excited about matches going forward, and I think after the really interesting finish and some controversial ending, I would say, to the match, I thought it was really appropriate to settle it and figure out who is the undisputed World Trios Champions with a best-of-7 series, and I really couldn't imagine two better trios in the history of AEW to go out and have a best-of-7.
And real quick, is this a one-off, or this will be their theme moving forward, Wayward Sons?
I am very open to using it again, and they were very cool about us using it tonight, so I think there's a good chance we could use it again.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Just a few more questions, okay? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Will Washington with Fightful. So it's kind of a multi-layered question. So in 2019, you ran 4 pay-per-views. 2020, you ran 4 pay-per-views. 2021, you ran 4 pay-per-views. This year, in 3 weeks, you will have completed 8 pay-per-views. You will have doubled the amount of pay-per-views you've booked in...
No, when you say you're talking Tony Khan, not AEW.
Specifically talking Tony
Yes.
Khan. Yes. So, I guess talking about that, do you feel comfortable at that point with the amount of pay-per-views you're booking at this stage? Do you feel going into 2023, you want to keep that load, or do you want to?
Well, do you mean me So you mean me personally, not the AEW? Because the AEW, I think, has done 5 pay-per-views. One which was a collaboration that was New Japan. But you know, I've run 5 AEW pay-per-views and 3 Ring of Honor pay-per-views. But I don't see them as necessarily competing products. Like I think there's synergies with them, and even though I am working on 8 pay-per-view shows, if you're asking me about my own personal capacity, I could talk. But as far as like AEW, I think 5 is a really good number, and I think what we've done with Ring of Honor so far with the 3 has been really nice.
Well, I mean, I know we're talking semantics here, but really, at the moment, they're kind of one and the same product, in that it's all existing on Dynamite, it's all existing on Rampage.
Some is existing on, I mean, to be fair, it's a great point, and to really take it to the next level, I think it's also fair to point out that there's been defenses on Elevation and Dark and Elevation, where is it working? I don't know. Do you have a follow up, or is it any more?
Well, so more so, I guess
No, you want to keep it. Okay. So because no, it's a great point. So because also there have been defenses on Dark and Elevation. So to your point, I don't think it's all one and the same product, because where it differentiates is the pay-per-views and the builds of the pay-per-views, and I guess, you know, I would like to use other TV products, but you probably have seen a little bit more in terms of title defenses and some of the segments on Dark and Elevation for Ring of Honor that, you know, you wouldn't necessarily see as many of the AEW Championship matches on Dark and Elevation as you have for Ring of Honor, but Mercedes and the Pure Champions, Garcia and Yuta, have both defended the title on Dark and Elevation. Claudio, as world champion, defended the title on YouTube also. So, you know, I've been open to using the Dark and Elevation also to build some of those matches, but I think, to your point, it has, some of it has existed on Dynamite and Rampage. I think it would be great, and I'm optimistic about trying to get Ring of Honor weekly TV going, but really, like I said, the focus was really November 19th today, Full Gear, and then going into Final Battle on December 10th. I think it's a really good number for the two companies, but I think it's good to like distinguish the two, because I think there's people that are big AEW fans that watch the TV, and clearly I think there's some people we've gotten interested in Ring of Honor that weren't buying the Ring of Honor shows before. But I don't think we've done it in a way where if you're an AEW fan, you don't have to buy the Ring of Honor shows, if that makes sense. Like, and it's not like I'm saying, I'm trying to find, I really, I value the question, but I've also tried to create a product where a lot of the AEW-centric storylines are separate from the Ring of Honor storylines, if that makes sense. Like, for example, most of what's happened on AEW TV has been focused around the major championships in Ring of Honor, and I think we've built a lot of interest, in particular around the Ring of Honor World Championship, Chris Jericho. Samoa Joe, for example, tonight, the Ring of Honor World TV Champion, he was competing for the TNT Championship. Now it's interesting because they are, to your point, one and the same. Now so that is creating a little bit more synergy between the two shows, having one person have both the belts. So I think that 8 is a good number, but I also think it's important to distinguish, because we're not doing 8 pay-per-views. Like, AEW is doing 5 and Ring of Honor is doing 3, and I still see them as like separate properties, even though there's been matches between the two. For example, New Japan Pro Wrestling, there's been matches involving a lot of the New Japan wrestlers, and even New Japan Championships on AEW, and not even exclusively around Forbidden Door. We've done it at other times too, as you know. So I think it's more about companies working together. So I know it's a little bit different with Ring of Honor than it is with New Japan, but I see them as outside of the two biggest promotions in the world, which I think are AEW and WWE. I think there's also 2 really big promotions with New Japan Pro Wrestling and Ring of Honor that we partner with, and we've had championship matches from Lucha Libre, AAA, and other companies too. So, but to your bigger question, I really like the way it's split.
Okay, 2 more questions, Bill, and then Mike Johnson.
You've been asked a lot about the TV deal for Ring of Honor. It seems like that's, you know, very uncertain at this point. Have you given any consideration to maybe, you know, giving them a YouTube show, or maybe doing like one of the Universal tapings instead of Dark?
I mean, there are things that are
just to give them, you know, more of a consistent presence instead of balancing it on Dynamite and, you know, the other 3 shows.
I've definitely considered a lot of options, but I think it would be hasty when there are other options out there to like jump into something, because it's a pretty valuable property. And even like, for example, like the pay-per-views, like, you know, for example, like, to throw out a number, like, which would be for an AEW pay-per-view, it's probably, you know, 25% or so of what you might get for an AEW pay-per-view, or less than 25% of some AEW pay-per-views. But say a number like 35,000 buys at, like, you know, at the price point for Ring of Honor, which is also a lower price point, then on the one hand for AEW, that's not that revenue, but on the other hand, it's not something I really see cannibalizing the AEW pay-per-view product, because the AEW pay-per-view buys have been pretty stable while we've done the Ring of Honor pay-per-views. So for the TV, I really would like to get that going, and I see it as a weekly series. But because it's such a major leap, I've been holding off on, because I mean, yeah, I could easily just do a YouTube show. Like, I mean, anybody, but I think it probably deserves something better than that.
I want to clarify. I mean, just until you get there, not in place of it.
I completely see that, but I think like it would be like going from just doing a YouTube show as a placeholder. I think would be probably less. It would be a trade-off, because in some ways they would be beneficial by not having some matches that could take away from other matches that would feature some people in AEW. But I also think a lot of the people from Ring of Honor that we featured, like the champions, happen to be some of the biggest names in AEW, like Chris Jericho, Samoa Joe, FTR. So when those people have wrestled in matches, whether it was FTR, you know, around Forbidden Door with the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships, or Chris Jericho doing the Ring of Jericho, or Samoa Joe defending the TV title, Mercedes is just getting back healthy. So I think at times those have been good to the show, but I also like try to keep a balance where it's not the whole show. And you know, I think, like I said tonight, with 10 matches on the pay-per-view, and there was one match that was a Ring of Honor Championship match, I thought that was a good balance.
Thank you. Last question, Mike Johnson.
Hey, Tony. I have a different question for you. AEW is the first promotion launched during the Twitter era. Obviously, that social media platform. You communicate with the audience all the time there. Kunosuke's signing was announced today. AEW has built a huge Twitter following. You got over 1 million followers across the different platforms and accounts there. Have you been monitoring it? What does it mean to AEW if this thing really does crash into a wall and die even short term? And what's your thoughts on just the entire craziness in the last couple of weeks, given Twitter has become an important part of the AEW experience?
That's a great thought. I think, in particular, you know, it's become a subject of conversation in recent days. I'm not sure what, you know, the future of that platform is, but I think it's been a home to a lot of wrestling conversation, and it kind of aggregated a lot of the message board conversation that went on for a lot of years, and a lot of message board people aggregated into one place on Twitter, like, and it combined a lot of the people in this room I know from various message boards and chat rooms, that it put all of them in one place in a unique way, and I think it's, you know, still is home to a lot of that conversation. So, you know, we'll have to see, but I mean, there's always been great homes, and the wrestling people, we've always seemed to all find each other. So, but I think certainly Twitter's been working the last several days. So I've been tweeting, and it seems to be working pretty well. Well, that I really appreciate it, everybody. I don't get a chance to see you all very often, but I really appreciate everybody coming out. I see a bunch of people, you know, I interact with on a pretty regular basis, and you know, all of you coming out to cover our pay-per-view, it means a lot, and I hope we gave you a good show. Is there anybody that came here that did not get to ask a question today that would like to ask a question just before I leave? You have not asked a question.
Quickly, Tony, when will we get more details on you coming to the UK?
That's a great question. I have not got the exact details on the date of that. I think all we've announced is that we're coming in 2023, and our first AEW event in the UK is going to be in London. We're still working through some of the details. Like I alluded to before, we just actually did our first ever international event this year, and it's pretty complicated, but in a good way. We're still a young company, so we learned a lot by going to Canada, and I think we can take that and parlay it into our first overseas trip. And then also, I think it can be really good revenue for the company. Like today was our 4th straight pay-per-view with over $1 million in live ticket sales, and it's the 5th event this year that we did that, and we'd never done it before. This year it's a new milestone, and I think that's the kind of business we potentially could do in the UK, which is pretty exciting. So we're not taking it lightly, but next year is definitely the plan, and it's crazy because it's already mid to late November here, so next year is right around the corner. Pretty soon that's going to be this year. Well, thank you so much for all being here. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks.